Hi, and welcome along to Fanzone, the show where you get to have your say about all things Arsenal. Joined by my brother Laurie in the building today. Listen, tonight's subject is a really interesting one. Do Arsenal fans underappreciate Mikel Arteta? Right? And also later on, we're going to be discussing the game tomorrow, of course. Arsenal going to visit Nottingham Forest. Absolutely huge game. If we've got to win that, innit?
Massive. No margin for errors.
No margin for error whatsoever. But the first, I wanted to touch on this, right, Laurie, because yesterday evening, I was at home and my phone started ringing. People were messaging me and they go, Robbie, is this news true? Is this news true? I go, what news? Because at that time, I hadn't seen it straight away.
Right.
I think I was watching AFCON or watching something, right? And I see the news that, you know, according to this outlet, Sport over there in Spain, Mikel Arteta had told friends, family, representatives that he's going to leave Arsenal at the end of the season and go and join Barcelona. Of course, we all got the news at the weekend that Xavi, the manager of Barcelona, has decided to leave the club at the end of the season. They've had a couple of poor results recently. And even though he won the league last season in La Liga with Barcelona, he's decided to walk away at the end of the season. I always knew that Mikel Arteta was going to get linked to this job. He's from Catalonia, he's from Spain. He was, you know, grew up at Barcelona, La Masia system. I knew that he'd get linked. It came quick, it came fast, right? And they were claiming that he's already decided that he's leaving at the end of the season. So for me, straight away when I saw it, I'm like, I can't believe this. I just don't think it's a true story. And then today, Mikel Arteta had a press conference and he put the record straight. I've actually got the quotes here. Let me see if I can grab them.
He was quite affirmative, wasn't he?
Very firm. He was asked about the rumours linking him with a move to Barcelona, and he replied by saying, that is totally fake. That's what he said. That's totally fake. What you read, he said, I'm really upset about it. I can't believe it. It has no sources. I'm in the right place with the right people and I feel really good about it. I'm embracing the beautiful journey with this club and there's still a lot to do. I have a strong relationship with the board. Things come in a natural way. When the time is right, we will have those contract discussions and find the best way to deal with it. Now, he's under contract till 2025 and yeah, it was really, really interesting. And the other thing that was really, really interesting about it was how many fans of other clubs started laughing and saying, look, Arteta's gone, he's leaving, you lot are in the mud. Even today, I saw a couple of the guys from the FCM podcast over on DR, and they was going, oh, we were hoping that Arteta's going and stuff like that. And then it got me thinking, do we sometimes, of Arsenal fans, underappreciate Mikel Arteta? Because a couple of weeks ago, when we lost that game to Fulham, you know, after we lost to West Ham, lost to Fulham, there were a lot of fans saying things like, you know, he's not the one. Oh, you know what, if we don't do this, sack him, blah, blah, blah. We should get this person, that person. And I remember at the time I was saying, listen, it's been a bad couple of games. And we know in football, it's a results business. But the way I saw some people going on, I was like, just calm down. This guy's done a lot at Arsenal. Yeah. He's done really, really well. But the way I saw that reaction to that news yesterday, do we underappreciate how good Mikel Arteta is? Because you know what? Barcelona want him.
Yeah, like you said, that's a very good question. I mean, speaking for myself, I like him as a manager. I must say he wouldn't have been my first choice when he took over back in 2019. But you have to be fair to the man. He's done well during his time as Arsenal manager. Listen, he's won the one trophy, well, two trophies if you count the Community Shield. He won the FA Cup, the Community Shield. He's into his fifth season now. He's had two 8th place finishes, a 5th place finish. And of course, last year when we ran City, pretty much all the way. So to me, he's done a very good job. He deserves time to complete at least this season. But I would also say to that, football, you hinted at it earlier, is a very results-oriented business. So if we get to the end of the season and we've not won the league, not won the Champions League, or dare I say it, which I don't think is going to happen, don't qualify for a Champions League places, then you are going to see the other side of the coin, which is that fans will turn. Again, I'm not saying me, because I like to think I'm a bit more rational in my thoughts, but there will be a lot of fans who will say to you, look, this guy's brought us as far as he can go. We need a new manager. So, yeah, it's in answer to your question. I do think he is a little bit underappreciated. But I would factor into that, I don't think, and this is my opinion, you may disagree, Robbie, I'm sure you'll let me know in a minute, but I think part of the reason why there is that issue about him being underappreciated is that I don't think he's the most charismatic guy to manage us. So if you compare him to, say, someone like Klopp, he doesn't evoke that kind of emotion. Yeah, he's a good manager, very competent. You can see he's very meticulous in his approach. You can see he's a guy that he's spot on with his attention to detail and all the rest of it. But in terms of, I don't think he's the most charismatic guy. And that will, charisma aligns with the fans, if they can pick up on that. So, and that can get you through sticky patches. So, for example, you saw, just clutch a name out the air, Steve Cooper, when he was under pressure at Forest. And it looked like, all intents and purposes, he was going to lose his job. There was this great rallying cry by the fans because they kind of took him to their hearts.
Well, that's because he got them up.
Yeah, as well. But I think he kind of resonated with the fans. I'm not sure if Arteta resonates with the fans as much as someone like that, or Klopp. But a short answer to your question, I think he is underappreciated. Yeah.
Well, I want to get some callers on today to get your opinion on it, right? Do we underappreciate Mikel Arteta? Because, you know, even though I'm looking in the comments, you know, there's some people here, Arteta is a specialist in failure, says Beanie. Real Arsenal fans don't support Arteta. Well, specialist in failure where? All right, we didn't win the league last year. We came up against a team that won the quadruple. Well, they won 4 trophies, right? So, you know, in Pep Guardiola, which is very, very difficult to do. And also, I'd like to ask you this, Beanie. Last season, did you think that we would be challenging for the league? At the start of last season, did you think we'd be challenging for the league? Or did you say to yourself, let's get into the top 4 this season? That's he exceeded expectations last year. Nobody thought we were going to challenge for the league last season. Anybody who says they did, I don't believe you, right? I'm putting it out there right now. I don't believe you.
I'm going to say it straight up, I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't.
And he challenged for the league, and all right, ultimately we fell away at the end. Maybe we didn't quite have the squad. Maybe it could have been some of his decisions, I don't know. But listen, he's up against Pep Guardiola, one of the greatest managers of all time. And to get past a manager like that is not easy, right? So to me,
only one manager's done it, and that's Klopp.
Only one manager, you know? So, you know, Logical Thinker says Arteta is stubborn and does not believe in constructive criticism. All the top managers are stubborn. Pep Guardiola's stubborn.
Klopp is very stubborn.
Klopp is stubborn. You know? That's what these great managers, they kind of have that trait. Yeah. You have to be a little bit stubborn. You know? I
guess on the other side of the argument would be some fans, and I've spoken to people who feel this way, is that whilst Arteta is a good young manager, maybe even a very good young manager, some people are saying, is he the calibre of manager that befits a club like Arsenal? So that is where you're going to get that little bit of tension between some of the fans. They will readily admit, yes, he's a decent manager, yes, he knows his stuff, but can he take us to the promised land?
Well, come on here and tell me what you think. Either way, whichever way you're thinking. The link is in the description. All you got to do is click on that and you come through to our virtual green room. So do that right now. It's as easy as that. All you got to do is click, or you can go onto our app and just click onto Fanzone and you're through, and the guys will get you on here live on the show today. Because I want to hear from people. There's lots of comments coming in and they're very mixed. Imagine. Kieran says, exactly right. Our fans obsess with overnight success. Young Forrest says, praising him like he won the league and replicated Arsenal's invincible season. Nobody's doing that. Absolutely nobody is doing that. He's got a lot to do, but he's doing all right at the moment. He's got Arsenal back to challenge him for leagues.
You said something there that's quite interesting. You said he's doing all right at the moment. Some fans, for them,
no, he's doing all right is not good. Maybe I should have said that wrong.
Okay,
he's doing well at the moment.
Okay, yeah, because for some fans, you know, I mean, their view of Arsenal is that we're a big club, a massive club, which we are, and that we should be winning major trophies. And as you said, Robbie, it's very difficult when you've got a team like Man City with all their resources and one of the greatest managers, if not the greatest manager. He's certainly in the discussion. So can you get past a guy like that and a club like Man City and win the likes of the Premier League and the Champions League? And because for some fans, you know, I mean, FA Cups and Carabao Cups are not going to satisfy these guys, or even just qualifying for the Champions League. So a lot of fans think we should be at that top table.
Yeah.
So, you know, for anything less, it's not going to do it.
Zach says, doesn't matter that we were in the title challenge till the end. We bottled it. And this is Arsenal Football Club, and we have to win a major trophies regardless. I get that. I'm with you. I want to see this club win major trophies, but we've got to stick with him for now and see how far he can take us. That's my what I look at it. Mikel Arteta's got us back in a position where we can challenge for leagues.
Absolutely.
Which we've not been nowhere near for years.
This subject matter is such an interesting one, because one thing I would say about Mikel Arteta is that he polarizes the fans. So you will get some hardcore Mikel Artetaites, I call them. They like proper on it, super Mick Arteta and all the rest of it, yeah? Then you'll get another section of the fan base who are not nearly as impressed.
They don't want to give him a chance.
And they were the ones I was talking about earlier, whereby they will admit that he's a decent manager, but they will tell you quite openly, and they've told me that in supermarkets and gyms and a place like this, that he's not quite the guy you're looking for. So
okay,
let's hear what the people have to say.
Right, let's hear what you've got to say. Have we got some callers right now? I think we've got Kian. Kian, how you doing,
guys.
bro?
I'm good, and you?
Yes, I'm really good. Do we underappreciate Mikel Arteta? You saw yesterday. Yesterday that, you know, when, you know, it seemed like he could, you know, this rumour came out and there was a lot of fans really upset about that. So
yeah, I kind of laughed when I saw that rumour. I was like, this is typical Barcelona leaking some sort of story to see how their fans react nearly to Arteta coming to the club. I never believed the story, to be honest. But I do think to an extent you could look both ways. I think one thing he has to be appreciated for is how he's changed the dynamic of the club, kind of from when we were at Emery. He's kind of changed the training ground, the way the atmosphere at the ground. Like Cesc Fabregas came in a while ago and said when he was at the training ground, it was a completely different training ground from when he was at the club before. And you can see how it's been implemented. The club got rid of kind of the high-paid players like Aubameyang and that when they knew the right time for them to go was that. And Arteta was kind of the main point in that. I think the documentary helped kind of see where Arteta was going with the clubs in regards to where they want to go with it. And I like how it's a nice young squad. I think the only thing that's missing is they need a bit more experience in there maybe in regards to players, because we've a lot of young players, and I think that experience, like what we had, obviously your Granit Xhaka was kind of an older player in the team, and you're missing that kind of, I think, when you look at the squad because of players like Thomas Partey not constantly being out injured with injuries and that. But I think why some fans maybe don't appreciate him enough is, as you said, it's the success. Fans want to see success in the club.
Where are you on it? Do you appreciate him?
I appreciate him. I appreciate everything he's doing, and I can see where they want to go. I do think we're a few players short of where we want to be winning trophies. And I think if, as Laurie said, if we finish outside the top four and obviously don't qualify for Champions League, that's when you maybe question him. I don't think you question him now because of the bad run of form. You're going to get that. We've had a history as a club that we always kind of, when it comes around January or close to January, we do have a poor run of form. So it doesn't surprise me. And I think we need to back him all the way until the end of the season. And then kind of when it comes to the end of the season, that's where we see where it is. But I don't think fans should be jumping on the whole bandwagon of get him out. You know, I don't agree with that.
Laurie, you want to say something?
Yeah, you kind of answered it in a way, but I was going to ask you if, as it seems, let's face it, it's possible. I'm not saying it's likely or it's unlikely. It's possible that we might finish the season not having won a trophy. Now, that would be like the 4th year, because he's been in charge 5 years now, won the FA Cup in his first season. Would you countenance him being in charge for another season, knowing that he's gone 4 seasons straight, no trophy?
I'd give him another season. If he can bring in the summer, like, I'll put it this way. If we sign the players that we need for the club, if we sign a striker, if we sign a good centre mid, like Zubamendi or that into the squad, if we can make those key signings who we have, and we have a good strong depth, and we're in the Champions League, I don't know why you let rid of him, because you look out there at the moment, as Robbie said on the Boys Premier League show this morning, who do you bring in? Like, who out there at the moment would you bring in? Zidane hasn't been managing for seasons. You've got like all the big managers, like your Thomas Tuchel's, Carlo Ancelotti. Obviously, Klopp said he doesn't want to come back to England after he finishes. So there's no one really out there that kind of I look at and say, I want him as Arsenal manager.
But if I could play devil's advocate on that, if you recall, when he took over in 2019, he himself didn't have any managerial experience. It was an appointment from left field in many ways. So
yeah,
the people who say, look, you know, we want somebody else, they might look at that and think, well, you're saying that who's out there. But at the end of the day, when he came into the club, he didn't have any managerial experience at all. So just putting that out there. I'm not saying that's my...
No, I agree with you. And I'll be completely honest. When he first came in, I didn't agree with the decision. I thought he wasn't ready because he hasn't managed the thing. But he's proved me wrong a lot along the way in regards to, especially last season. I thought it was just we'll be fighting for a top 4. We get a top 4 and that's fine. But the fact that we went ahead of schedule and challenged Man City for title, we fell away. But then again, like, that's down to injuries at the end of the day. But I do think if we finish top 4 this season and we're close to still fighting for the trophy in the Champions League and the league, why not give him another season?
Okay, thank you very much for your call, man. Brilliant call. Thank you.
Take care, man.
Appreciate that.
Cheers to that, lads.
Make some very, very good points there.
He always does.
I think we've got Zach coming up next. How you doing, Zach?
Hey, guys.
Do we underappreciate Mikel Arteta?
I definitely think there's a portion of the fan base who underappreciates him because, in my opinion, what he's done to bring the culture change the culture in the club and change the training ground and just improve the stature of the franchise or the club is massive. And like what the previous caller said, who is there going to be to bring in that would improve this team? Like, I think we're more of a player or two away, but tactically we're square. Culturally, we're really square, I think. And that's something to not take for granted because there's way too many clubs out there who have really poor management and front office stuff that we just don't deal with here at Arsenal.
And made a great point there when you said he changed the culture of the club. And when he came in, I think a lot of people forget about that, right? It's not just, before you can do stuff on the pitch, you've got to sort out all the mess off the pitch. Now, we're watching at the moment with Manchester United, an absolute mess off the pitch. You've seen all these incidents with Marcus Rashford, for instance, where, he's out clubbing 2 nights in a row last week, and now Ten Hag is having to say, right, I'm going to have to take action. That's him trying to sort out the culture. That's him trying to sort out the mess in the background. All that stuff Arteta did. Remember, he came in, he had to deal with the whole Aubameyang thing. He had to clear out numerous players. Some of them, some of these players that he cleared out, literally, we lost big money on. He had to just let them go for free, Mesut Ozil or whoever, because he just said to himself, listen, I've got to get these players out of the club because I'm trying to set a certain culture here, right? And that was almost like, that took a couple of years to do. So when people say, well, he's been here for 4 years and he hasn't won a trophy, which is wrong, by the way, because he did win the FA Cup, right?
And he won the Community Shield.
I don't know if I count that, right? You have to remember the job he's done and remember where we were at when he came in.
Yeah, I co-sign that. You have to give the guys credit. When he came in, we were not in a good place. We were losing matches, and like you said, it would appear that the culture of the club wasn't quite right. To be fair, he's done a lot to address that. He's got everybody, it would appear, in the right direction. The club is on an upward trajectory. I am a little bit worried in a way that because of our success last season, which, let's face it, surprised a lot of people, including myself, it's almost created, the weight of expectation now is different. Yeah. If you listen to the fans, day in, day out, week in, week out after games, they're expecting to win every game. You know what I mean? And that is not an easy thing to replicate when you're getting game after game, challenging against the big teams and stuff like that. So it's almost like the success that we had last season is kind of weighing heavily on this season because people are expecting us to win things or at the very minimum qualify for the Champions League. Almost
like the overachieving of last season went to our detriment as fans in the team, and that just goes to show how difficult it is and how competitive it is in the Premier League to win, because if you're not getting 3 points week in and week out, like people are putting you on the hot seat. And that's why to that as well, it's so important for Mikel.
Well, transfer window.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's so important for Mikel to stay, because of the culture that he's imprinted. Like, I don't think there's another manager or another person who would be able to come in and improve on what these guys, what Mikel has done to these boys. Like, the guys have really improved under him, and it looks like they're still on an upward trajectory.
Oh, listen, thank you very much for your call. You kind of froze up there, your picture, right? Froze up there for us. But no problem, man. We could hear everything you said loud and clear. So thank you very much. Great points. We got Maz. Maz, how you doing?
Hi, how are you guys?
Yeah, good, man. Do we underappreciate Mikel Arteta?
You could argue we.
You took too long to answer.
that look gives it away.
That look gave it away.
Yeah, no, I would argue we overappreciate Mikel Arteta.
Wow.
Why?
Yeah. And the reason I say, I just don't understand some of this fan base makes it sound like it's outrageous to even raise the point of changing Mikel Arteta as a manager, and I don't get why. I understand. First of all, let me say, I do think he's done a good job at Arsenal. I do think relative to when he's come to the club and where we are now, there's definitely been an improvement. There's been an improvement in mentality and the squad quality overall. But as a fan base, you would think, the more we go without winning the Premier League, and last time was 20 years ago, the more desperate we would be as a fan base to win it. And we seem to be an easy fan base to please, in the sense that we think more emotionally about these individuals, about managers, about some of these players. And personally, I'm on the side where, like, my opinion is, I just want to see Arsenal win the league. And if that means if that means Mikel Arteta has to leave this club, that's what I would support. Personally, I said in the summer, especially when he's bought Kai Havertz, I said in the summer, if he doesn't win the trophy this season, I didn't say the league, but I did say win the trophy this season, then I would want him gone as a manager. I would want to change him as a manager. We're in a much better place now. I don't think for Arsenal changing a manager right now is going to be detrimental like it would be to many other clubs that are more in transition. I don't think it's such a scary thing for us to assume that Mikel Arteta has to go in the summer.
Why you get rid of a manager, right? Barcelona want him.
Yeah, but Barcelona want him.
He's that bad that Barcelona want him.
He's not bad, though. I didn't say he's bad.
Well,
I think he's a good.
Why would you want to get rid of a manager?
No, Arsene Wenger was a good manager. We wanted rid of him, didn't we?
Yeah, I think that was a bit different because he was a great manager who'd overstayed his time.
But what about Emery then? Emery.
If you remember rightly, Emery, he was having an absolute nightmare. Remember how we had that season where we missed out on the top four. We didn't. We lost the final, got humiliated in the final 4-1.
Yeah, and I wanted him gone as well.
And then we gave him the next season, and then he was losing game after game after game. He had to go.
Yes.
Mikel Arteta's not doing that. Up until Up
Mikel
until the other
Arteta's
day,
not doing that because Mikel Arteta has had over 700 million to spend in 4 years. Mikel Arteta is a good manager, but we have to think about Arsenal. We have to think about the bad. We have to think about. Do you know what? When I started supporting this club, we were winning the league almost every other season. So finishing second behind Man United.
I know.
Yeah, but
and
we are way too happy with this change.
No, hold on.
In my opinion,
and Man United were winning the league, and we're at 8.
Yeah,
right. Things have changed, right? And Mikel Arteta's got 2 great managers in his way. I mean, Klopp's going, that will help him, right? But he's got to get past Klopp. He's got to get past Pep Guardiola. 2 great elite managers, right? After those 2, he's the next best in the league, right? He's building something. It's not going to be easy to get past those 2. You know what I mean? I mean, at the start of last season, did you expect Mikel Arteta to be challenging for the league? Did you expect that Arsenal team to be?
No. Yeah, but that's at the beginning. And I keep saying it and I keep repeating it. What's happened last season is unforgivable. At the end of the season, past 30 games, we were first in the league. I'm pretty sure 6 to 8 points ahead. And we didn't lose the league at the Etihad. We lost the league against Southampton at home and West Ham away. Both of these games, well, no, West Ham were leading.
But you know, you can look on it and you can say, you know, I mean, he had a squad that had not been there before. Obviously, we didn't cope with the pressure, right? But you can't.
Listen, I don't just blame him. I
don't know. Like, who would you? All right, who would you bring in then?
Well, I'd do my homework. I'd look at De Zerbi. I'd look at a few other managers.
So what makes you think
give somebody else a chance?
What makes you think De Zerbi would do any better?
Yeah, but that's how you risk, bro. That you have to take that risk. If De Zerbi doesn't succeed, then maybe somebody else better is available in 2 years.
Then you could just go down that route.
Why this emotional attachment to Mikel Arteta? I just don't get it.
It's not about emotional attachment. It's about looking at somebody. So this is how I look on it, right? I look on it and I say, Arsenal before Mikel Arteta came in, we were nowhere near challenging for the league. In the last probably about 15 years, we haven't been even close. We get to February, the league's over. Or January, that's it. It's finished, done, right? Last year, I saw him build a team that challenged for the league, nearly went all the way against an unbelievably good Man City team, right? We challenge. This year, right, and listen, he's not without mistakes, of course. It's not everything he's done that I've agreed with. I didn't get why, after Aaron Ramsdale doing so well, he had to go and get Raya. But it's his decision to make, and even the great managers make mistakes. You know what I mean? We've seen Calvin Phillips leave from Man City without barely playing a game and going to West Ham now. That was a big mistake that Pep Guardiola's made, right? But I saw the team challenge for the league, right? And then this season, I'm seeing the team back there again, challenging for the league. Again, you can't discount us from the league right now. With 5 points off the top.
Because we were so right now, Mikel Arteta.
So hold on. So right now, I see a manager that's got us challenging again, right? And so I'm willing to give him more time to see if he can take us to the promised land. Just changing managers every minute is not going to be guaranteed.
It's not every minute. It's been 4 years. He's finished second and he's spent 200 million. So how many other managers at top clubs would you say? How many other top managers at top clubs?
How much does Ten Hag spend? He spent even
Yeah, but I don't want Ten Hag at Arsenal either. I don't want Ten Hag at Arsenal.
I do agree with
another buffoon manager who gets in Mason Mount and thinks that's going to get him from third to second or first.
Yeah, I do agree with Mans. We should not be using Manchester United as a benchmark.
We should be using Man City as a benchmark.
No, but I'm using the example of...
I hear you.
It because, Ten Hag came in with a big rep.
He did.
And he's not solving the problems at the moment at Manchester United.
He doesn't win a trophy this season. We should change managers, in my opinion. It's
interesting because both of them have won the same amount of trophies. But anyway, what I would say is this, is that you're both right in your assertions. What I would add to that is that I think that we really do need to give him till the end of the season so we can make a proper assessment.
Definitely.
Because although the trajectory is upwards, 8th, 5th and 2nd, this season, we're kind of 2/3 of the way through nearly. We need to see what happens. But what I would put on the table is that his record in cup competitions has not been very good.
Awful.
And I think that could count against him if we don't win anything this season. Because I think some people, myself included, would countenance not winning the Premier League and the Champions League because they are elite competitions sought after by elite clubs with elite managers. So like Robbie said, it's going to be very difficult to win those. However, if we go down a level, I think our record in cup competitions, the Europa League, the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, okay, I know he won it in his first season. But if you look at, we almost go out in the first round every year of those competitions. In the Europa League, let's face it, we failed pretty miserably in my view. So all those things need to be taken into context come the end of the season.
I would want to come back here in May, and I'd want Robbie to tell me, remember what you said about Arteta, and we just won the Champions League, you know, or we or we won the league or something like that. I would love for that to happen, because that's the only thing I want for Arsenal. I'm not really about individuals.
I'm not about individuals either. I'm with you. I just want to win the league. I just want to see this club successful. But I do look on it sometimes and think we just need, as fans, just take a little step back. I know, you know what I mean? I was at that game at Fulham. You come out of there and you're thinking, oh my God, what was that? But then throughout a season, these things do happen. Got to take a step back and just say, right, let me see what the guy's doing overall. I see a guy's changed the culture of the club. I see a guy's got us challenging again. I see a guy that's his stock is so high that Barcelona want him.
Well, right? Real Madrid were apparently wanting him.
But Barcelona are not at that level anymore, are they really?
Well, they won La Liga last season. So so they ain't that bad. I mean, maybe you're not having a tough time of it right now, but listen, thank you very much for your call, man. Appreciate that, bro.
No problem.
Appreciate that, bro. Thank you.
Very cool.
Right, especially him going against the grain as well. That's respect for that, you know what I mean?
No, but you know what I would say? What Mans has said there has been reflected in conversations I've had with people.
So and a lot of people in the comments are agreeing with Mans as well.
It's not a total surprise to me that some fans feel that way because, like I said, I've been getting that energy from fans when I meet them out in the street. So it is what it is.
You know, I love some of the comments in there. A lot of people back in Maz. Carl Walsh Gunner says if Arteta fails this season, and we don't, we should not give him another season. That Europa League crash out last season was so much embarrassing for us. Fans don't realise it was horrible. Says JKJK. Papa Boy says, Robbie trying to keep the channel positive, laugh out loud. Listen, I was telling the truth, bro, how I feel, right? I feel right now we have a good manager. I feel that this is the best manager that we've had since Arsene Wenger left, and I'm prepared to give him a chance. And I can't just react when we lose. I also look at what he's up against a very, very good Liverpool side with a top elite manager and a absolutely unbelievable Man City side, again with an elite manager, and he's still their challenger. We beat Man City this season. I think you've forgotten. Let's get... and
not only that, if I could comment quickly, what he talks about, the channel and positivity, I don't know if that's a dig, but what I would say is this, and obviously I'm involved and I'm here every day and I chat to all the presenters, yourself, James, Turkish, Cecil and me. We've all got different views and we all air those views. So, for example, I know Turkish is not super keen on a manager. I'm willing to give him time. Likewise, Cecil. I know James is a big Arteta fan. So, listen, man, we're all got different opinions. We all voice them. It's all good.
Deanie. Got Deanie there. How you doing, Deanie?
I'm good, Robbie. Laurie, you good as well?
Yeah, man, respect. Nice to hear from you, man.
Are we underappreciating Mikel Arteta?
It depends. It depends which way you look at it, because I feel like that 3-game run when we just didn't get a win against West Ham, Fulham, and all that business, that made me spark up and say, okay, not Arteta out now necessarily, but in my mind, and I think I've said this to Laura, so I'm giving Arteta at least until the end of next season, because for me personally,
next season or this season,
the end of next season, he's got bar a complete capitulation, bar the maddest capitulation. Yeah, he has at least until the end of next season, because I genuinely do appreciate the fact. Well, thank you, Robbie. I appreciate that. I do. When he came in, I was very much in the mindset of, we need a fresh restart. We need a reset. We need a fresh restart because everything was flat. And to think about where we came from to where we are now, I am absolutely appreciative of the fact that I can walk around my area and wear my Arsenal top and people, hey, yo, that team's a joke team. Do you know what I mean? Like, we can actually walk around with pride now. Arteta genuinely brought that back to us. So I genuinely feel like bar the man.
So he put respect back on our name.
Say again?
You put the respect back on our name.
Put some respect on my name. That's what it is, because we've lost a lot of respect. We have lost a lot of respect, and especially when teams like Tottenham are talking and this, that, and Big Ange, this, that, and the other. I couldn't care less about them, man, because you lot still waiting for a trophy, but we ain't talking about Tottenham today. Do we appreciate Arteta? I can understand why some fans, or it may seem like some fans don't appreciate Arteta. What was I watching the other day? I think it was the roundtable talk you lot was doing the other day on DR Sports, and Turkish said something along the lines of, obviously, a lot of you lot come from a generation where you've seen Arsenal win things, and a lot of the Arsenal fans that are watching now haven't seen them win things. They've seen teams like Chelsea and Man United and even Man City now, but especially a team like Chelsea, chop and change a manager, and then you get the Premier League and the Champions League. And a lot of this is to do with thinking that instant success is the best type of success you're going to get every season. Everything is instant. It's not going to be instant. The best things come when you are patient and you take your time. And yes, it is hard. It is so hard. But for someone like Arteta,
just on that quickly, some people would say that football is not a long-term game like that. It's very much short-term insofar as, especially a club like Arsenal. I mentioned it earlier. We're expected to be at that top table challenge for trophies. Mm-hmm. If you go another season without winning one of the major trophies, that's 5 years he's had and no major trophy. Okay, the FA Cup I would class as a major trophy, but you know what I'm saying? Some people say you have to be winning leagues, Champions Leagues and stuff like that. So if you go another year now, some people might realistically look at that and say, listen, man, you've had 5 years. That's a lot more than some other managers have had, and you've not really delivered what we want.
And you know what, Laurie, that is absolutely fair enough. And I'm not going to necessarily hate on the next person if they think that, because they might say their expectations are higher than mine. The fact that I'm willing to wait until the next season, bar a mad capitulation, people might look at me crazy, but we all have our own opinions at the end of the day of what we think our success could look like in the future under a manager like Mikel Arteta. Because I'll say this again, when Mikel Arteta came in, was I thinking about trophies? I don't think anyone was really thinking about trophies at the time. We were just thinking about getting it back together. It's stabilization, yeah, exactly. Literally.
So how long do you think the stabilization process should take? Realistically. Obviously, it depends on where you start.
It depends on how, it also depends on how much of a mess we were in. We were still selling our best players for nothing. We weren't bringing any money in. The football was bad. Everything was bad between the fans and the club. Everything was bad. So
okay, so let me again play devil's advocate. So let's say you get 2-3 years max to stabilize. Most people would say about 2. So then you got 3 years now to really, you know what I mean, come with something. And as one of our other callers said previously, you spent a whole heap of money in the transfer market. 400 million, I think man said. So that does sound a bit much, but anyway, he spent a lot of money. Yeah. So some people would say, and again, I'm paraphrasing, you know what I mean? Some people would say that that's more than enough time for you to deliver something tangible. What do you say to that?
So, all right, even on that sense, because we could talk about, like, for example, let's talk about the transfer window. We could talk about Havertz for a second. 65 million. You could have spent money on that on an 8. You could have spent money on a right winger. Did you need to bring in a Ray up? Necessarily no. So I can even those questions as well. Arteta, we have some players in the team that we didn't necessarily need, where we could have added and be pushing on. Anyone can absolutely have their gripes at Arteta, because I do have my gripes at Arteta as well. I think everyone does have their gripes at Arteta, absolutely. But for me personally, does he deserve bar a capitulation? Does he deserve to the end of next season? I do think so, because for a person to come in that hasn't even managed a team, has never managed a team, and says, I don't care who you are, I'm that guy. I promise you, the fans, that we will have a connection back, and we will be competing again soon. And we've literally done those 4 things. That person deserves some grace.
Yep.
It only gets sticky if we start It only starts to get sticky if we start comparing ourselves to Tottenham and we're not winning trophies for a while now. That's when it gets really sticky. But we're not there yet. And I do believe Arteta wins one of the big trophies between the next 2 years. And if he doesn't, field day.
Yeah.
Field day.
Right.
Go nuts.
Thank you very much for the call, Dini. Really appreciate that, man. Brilliant call. I think that's really fair as well. We're gonna get Elliot on. Just as I do that, let me just do this super chat here from Prem Ready. He says, we've left ourselves short at the back again. Last season it was Saliba. This time Gabriel. In the summer, Timber. And we send out KT. Nuno out on loan. We have less defenders than last year in the Champions League game. That was with a super chat. Got some others here. Let me just see if I can dig out one or two before we get our next caller in. Lots of chats. This is from Darren. Says lots of chats saying get rid of him, but very few can name a replacement. Right? And T Power says, Robbie, why don't you change your middle name to Mikel? Listen, man, it's not that I'm giving appreciation to a guy, as far as I'm concerned, is doing a good job. He's not perfect. There's questions to be asked on many different things that he's done. But I'm seeing my team for the first time in a long time challenging for the league. We're in the Champions League. When was the last time? What was it, 8 years? We're back in the Champions League. We hear that Champions League music again, right? People keep saying, oh, he spent this amount. A lot of teams have spent big money. How much money Chelsea spent? Yeah. Are they in the Champions League? Are they challenging for the league? Were they challenged for the league last year? How many teams? As many other teams. This is the most competitive league in world football, the Premier League, because teams like Bournemouth.
Not the Saudi League, no?
The Saudi League.
They spend.
Teams like Bournemouth are spending millions, right? So it's not a given. No. It's not easy. Let's get our next caller. I think we've got Elliot. How you doing, Elliot?
Robbie, Laurie, how are you?
Yeah, good, man. Good. Where do you stand on this? Is Mikel Arteta underappreciated?
No, he's appreciated just fine. Mikel Arteta, let me say this, is a very lucky man. He came in at a time during COVID. There wasn't any people in the stands. You and your friend Lee Judges have said that. And he was given a breadth of forgiveness and kindness and goodwill from the club. He was therefore allowed to spend up to £700 million in funds on replicating the team. Now, we do have a team that challenges, but there are still holes in this team. Hole number one, at striker. You know it, and God's greenest knows it. We need one. We've known one for the last few years. He's neglected to do that. And yet, here we are again, begging for this manager to turn about face and bring in a striker, even a number two right now, to help us get us over the line. No, he's still stubborn. He still believes Arteta is his son. So, that ain't happening. Won't sell and Nketiah, whom Crystal Palace are begging for. Nonetheless, I'll leave that there. Then you go off to the left eight. He brought in Mr. Havertz. Yes, the savior of us all, and the man who is supposed to bring us 10 to 15 goals. Has that happened, Robbie? No, it hasn't. And we are left with a gaping hole on that left side that I pray hope ESR comes in to help balance the team. Because I tell you what, and I told your friends at that after show at Crystal Palace, ESR came in and I saw a midfield that actually functioned as good as it did last season in 25 minutes. So we could have saved £65 million, diverted those funds towards a striker, or maybe even towards the left wing, because we all know that Saka has been played way too much, and yet there's still a hole over there. That's hole number three.
Hold on. All right, listen. So obviously he's not been perfect. And that's what I said earlier.
Oh, no, definitely not.
There's things to be questioned. You know what I mean? You could argue that who is that striker? Who is that striker out there? Because you know what? There's a lot of other teams that ain't got a striker right now that need a striker. There's teams that have spent a lot of money on a striker, and those strikers are not delivering either, right, in the Premier League. So it's not easy to get the type of striker he wants. And then you've got things like financial fair play, which we're seeing affecting loads of other teams right now. But he definitely made mistakes. But he's got the team challenging for the league. He came in, he took over an absolute mess. I think you're forgetting. An absolute car crash is what he took over, right? You may say, all right, it was in a COVID.
Was it that bad? A car crash?
Well, what was we doing?
We wasn't in a great place, but
when he took
you're
over,
making
when
it sound rather melodramatic, I've got to say.
Hold on, when Mikel Arteta took over, this Arsenal Football Club, was we challenging for the league? Was we even in the Champions League?
Yeah, but we weren't in the relegation places.
For a team like Arsenal...
With respect, you're making it sound like, you know what I mean, the end of the world was nigh.
No, well, maybe I've gone a slightly over the top, but I'm saying that the team was not in a good place.
No, it wasn't.
Right? The team was not in a good place. We had a lot of very poor players. So he had to get rid of all those poor players. He needs to bring in a new team. And he's done that. He's won a trophy. And he's got us challenging for the league, right? He's got to get past Pep Guardiola. He's got to get past Klopp, right? Honestly, I think he's underappreciated. We got Barcelona wanting him. If he weren't any good, as well, how you're making out, for what I can sound, Barcelona would be interested.
Robbie. Let me say that. He's not saying he's not any good, but let's face.
Barcelona wouldn't be interested in all that.
No, they wouldn't be interested, but the fact of the matter is he's made mistakes. Let us not think that he's walking on water like Jesus Christ.
I know, but he's not. I'm not saying he's certainly not saying he is, but there's a lot of managers that have made mistakes with signings. Pep Guardiola's made a lot of mistakes with signings, as we see with the Calvin Phillips thing, where he bought in Calvin Phillips for, over 50 million and he barely played a game. You know what I mean? You could look at some of, listen, I know he's coming from a position of power because he's just won every trophy going, but some of the signings, some of his other signings ain't quite worked out yet. So, it's not only Mikel Arteta that makes signings that don't quite work out, but he's also made signings that have been good. Declan Rice has been brilliant this season. Ben White, a signing that we all sort of thought, I'm not too sure, has been excellent. So, you've got to balance it up. That's what I'm saying. You've got to balance it up. You've got to look at what he took over, and you've got to look at the job he's doing, which, first of all, and I'm not saying I don't want to see, of course, I want to see us win a trophy. And I think what the last caller said, Dini, says pretty fair to give him till the end of next season to see if he wins something. But certainly, right, compared to where we were at when he took over, he's doing a good job.
I would, I must say it very quickly, I would slightly disagree with Dini, my good brethren, on that point. I think that to the end of the following season is probably a bit too long. I think at the end of this season, we should sit down and they should appraise his performance.
What would be your minimum requirement for this season?
For this season, I'm going to be blunt. Absolute bare minimum would be qualifying for the Champions League.
Okay,
if we finish outside the Champions League places, I think that there's some serious questions.
What would be your minimum requirement?
Minimum requirement for me, yes, Champions League qualification and at least a push towards the title. I mean, challenge them to the final day, and then we can. I wouldn't say give him an extension. I say give him another year to prove himself. I think it's way too early to give him to an extension. And let me say this, Rob, before I go on any further. Year 3 and 4, with Man City and Liverpool being your blueprint, those teams were airtight. They were ready for titles. They're ready for title challenges. They're ready for Europe. We, on the other hand, seem to be stumbling over ourselves, being Keystone Cups, trying to make ourselves into some sort of, credible, viable entry for this title. And the fact of the matter is, it's not good enough. Not for the likes of Arsenal Football Club.
Title is not easy to win, right? Jurgen Klopp, he announced last week that he's leaving. For me, one of the greatest Premier League managers. He's been absolutely amazing. He's won 1 Premier League.
Indeed. But he won 1 Champions League.
It's not easy.
He won a Champions League.
I know he's won a Champions League. He has won a Champions League. He's won 1. We're on the subject of the Premier League. He's won 1.
He's also won Champions League.
It's not easy. It's not easy to win it. Especially when you've got a manager like Pep Guardiola, who's just like, especially in the past, when he's had his unlimited funds and stuff like that. It's not easy.
No, I would agree.
The Frog said it's not easy being green. The fact of the matter is, you still got to wear the bloody green. Okay? Still got to wear the green. At the end of the day, still got to walk, you still got to talk, you still got to do what you got to do. The fact of the matter is, he has hit below par. He spent near £700 million, and in that time, other teams would have been ready for title challenges. Mikel keeps making.
He made the title challenge last year. He made the title challenge last year,
Understood.
and he lost
to get
out.
A contract extension for last year is,
Hold
let's
on.
say,
He made the title challenge last year, and he lost out to the team that won the league, won the FA Cup, and the Champions League. Nobody could get past that team in European football, and he made a challenge on that, right? So when you say he weren't ready, and that was widely acknowledged as being ahead of schedule, would you not agree? That you did not expect that last. If you sit there and tell me that you expected that last year, I am going to tell you right now that I don't believe you.
Here's the thing. Standards have to raise.
Did you expect that last year? Did you expect that last? I want to hear from you. Did you expect us to make a challenge to win the league?
Another bloody classic. All right.
It's not a classic. I'm asking the question. Yes or no?
Okay, hey, I didn't expect it. No one did. But the fact of the matter is our standards raised because of it. Mikel is held to a higher standard now.
True.
There are no excuses. He has to come out here, guns blazing. He had $200 million at his disposal, make a team, $200 million plus. If he wanted to spend more, he could spend more, but he said, nah, I'm good here. $200 million plus to make this team even stronger. He got it wrong, Robbie. Admit that. He got it wrong with a man named Kai Havertz at that left side. He got it wrong. He got it wrong in terms of David Ryan. Well, to a certain extent, David Ryan, because I think Ramsdale was not as bad a keeper as you thought he was. I think I think Ryan and Ramsdale are on par. I think Ramsdale's a better shot stopper. I think Ryan's a better distributor of the ball, and is well loved by the club. At the end of the day, Robbie, mistakes have been made, especially in that year. Everyone was expecting us to kick on. It didn't happen. Why? Okay. Because mistakes are made, and he needs to make it, and he needs to be held to account for that. And let's see what happens at the end of the year. But an extension, a little too soon.
All right, thank you very much, man. Appreciate your call as always, man.
Good call.
Appreciate you, bro. Yeah. We got Max. How you doing, Max?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
Okay. Do we underappreciate Mikel Arteta? Or do we appreciate him enough?
I would say that he's not underappreciated. I would go as far as to say that he's overappreciated by some fans.
Right.
Just because people are holding him up to, they're pretending like he's won us multiple titles and is that you can just get away with doing horrible decisions on and off the pitch, which is costing us games and costing us seasons. Last season, for example, you had, we were surprising everyone, not just in the Premier League, but everywhere. And we could have easily have won possibly 2 titles, 2 trophies last season. Mm-hmm. But he decided to play our B team and C team in these other competitions, which ended up eventually making us go trophyless.
Maybe he thought at that time, because it was a bit of an unexpected that we was challenging for the league. Maybe he thought that he didn't have the squad, which it turns out he didn't have the squad to challenge on all fronts. So he tried to put it all into the league, and it just didn't work out.
No, I just say that if we had a more experienced manager, we might have dealt with it differently, and we might have tried to challenge for other trophies, not only the Premier League trophy, because I felt like when we were throwing away, the Europa League, the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup as well. I felt like we should be winning the league.
Hold on. I threw away the FA Cup. We had to go to Manchester City away.
Yeah, but they weren't playing that well. They weren't playing that well. They
won the treble last week. They won the treble last week. They weren't playing their B team in that game. They weren't playing their absolute strongest team.
We were playing our B team pretty much.
No.
We also went out of that competition to teams like Southampton and Brighton.
We could have played.
We didn't play our B team. We didn't play our B team against Man City.
But I believe.
We made a few changes. They made a few changes, but we had to go away to the Etihad to win that. That's not throwing a game. And you go away to the Etihad. That's a very, very difficult place to go to. I thought in the
maybe like let's say that we didn't throw away the FA Cup. Let's say we didn't throw away the FA Cup, but you have to admit, like for example, we knocked out by Brighton at the Emirates. We were playing our C team against Brighton. I mean, we could have beaten both Newcastle and United in that final. And I mean, in the end of the day, it would have been better to have the Carabao Cup and top four than ending up bottling the title.
Yeah. What do you give him? How much time? Because we're being here. It looks like they're going to offer him a new contract very shortly, which if you've got teams like Barcelona circling for your manager, to me, that makes perfect sense. And we know that with managers' contracts, listen, you can give a manager a 10-year contract. Remember the contract that Graham Potter had at Chelsea? He's still no longer there. But
no, what's
your minimum? Time's up already.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I never believe that you should sack a manager in the middle of a season. I think it never really does any good. But I believe
Time's up already.
At the end of the season. Yeah, I think that he should be sacked in the summer.
And bring in who?
I think who would you bring? I would bring in Zidane. Because that would be a guy that comes in with fresh ideas.
Zidane, though,
he comes in with a lot of experience.
He's already said he doesn't want to come to England, innit? Chelsea was trying to get him and that. So if you couldn't get Zidane, who would you get?
There's other managers out there who I feel like are better options. I mean, for example, you have. I'm not saying that Xabi Alonso is actually available, but I just think that you could try to make an approach for him, and maybe even Julian Nagelsmann. I do
think you're being a little unfair on the call.
What's Julian Nagelsmann one?
I do think you're being a little unfair on the call.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Wait 1 second. What's Nagelsmann one?
Yeah, but what had Arteta won before he took over?
Yeah, he's won an FA Cup.
No, but what had he done before?
I mean, he was doing very well at Bayern.
That's very true.
The only reason why Nagelsmann was fired at Bayern was because they wanted Tuchel and he was available. They wanted him instead, so they fired
Nagelsmann. Ain't won nothing, right?
To be fair to the caller, I don't think that it's fair to say to him who you want. Yeah, I mean, you could ask him and he could give you some suggestions. But what I'm saying, just because he wants a manager to change, for you to then say, well, who do you want?
No. He's given some good names.
He would argue, but it's not within his remit to select the next manager. All he's saying is that Arteta's had long enough and he wants him gone.
Obviously, he's not going to be in his remit to do it, but he's given some names. He's given Nagelsmann. Who was the other manager you gave?
I talked about Xabi Alonso, but I'm not saying that he's available.
And even when you think about Xabi Alonso, he's doing what Mikel Arteta did last season in the Premier League. Apart from he's doing it in an easier...
in the case of Xabi Alonso, you still have a way to go before it can determine.
Exactly. He's doing exactly what Mikel Arteta did last year in the Premier League. And we don't know how he's going to end up. He could go all the way and win it. We don't know. But he's like fairly new manager who's come in and has got his team playing good football, challenging for the league, which is exactly what Mikel Arteta did last season.
Yeah, Arteta's on his fourth season. And he's, what have we won in those 4 seasons? We won the FA Cup the first year that we, under Arteta. And you cannot say that team was any good and that we should have even won anything that year. But, thanks to Aubameyang, for example, he was pretty much carrying us throughout that entire tournament.
He was the manager. He got past Man City and Chelsea to win that FA Cup. I think that's pretty good.
I'm going to be honest and say that I do think there is a legitimate questions to be asked if we don't win a major trophy this season. I've said that a Champions League qualification is the bare minimum. But I do think that if we don't win anything, we're entitled as a fan base to say, look, what's going on? We're entitled to...
That's why we're even talking about it today, of course.
Okay.
Of course. So listen,
I was having... Yeah,
Go ahead.
Say that I had really high hopes when we went into the season, and we were, given a lot of money. I mean, Arteta was given a lot of money. We were getting rid of the players that we might think were, not good enough, and maybe we could go and get upgrades. But when we signed Kai Havertz, I was really disappointed because I feel like, he had proven nothing at Chelsea. In terms of other than that one Champions League goal, which wasn't really that good anyway. He was just at the right place at the right time.
You're a harsh guy.
That, he hasn't really done anything, and it's like
the baby-faced assassin.
He hasn't really done anything other than what we needed was a player that was very similar to Xhaka, who could do the same job but do it maybe better. I thought that we should have been going for Subimendi. It was both cheaper and I think still is a better player who could do both the defensive job and the attacking job.
Well, listen, I really appreciate you. What was your name again, sorry?
Mats.
And where was you calling from?
Norway.
Listen, really appreciate Mats. Brilliant call. Make sure you call again. Yeah, really appreciate you.
Yeah, great call.
Yeah,
thank you very much. All right, thank you very much. That was Mats there from Norway. He makes
very good call.
Makes some good points. He stands.
Kind of had you under pressure a little bit there, man.
People always got me under pressure.
Kind of had you like.
You know what? Right, that we've run out of time on the show, and we didn't even really get a chance to go deep into tomorrow's game. But listen, we're going to be all over that game tomorrow. Don't forget. We're going to have the full-time show at the end of that game. We're going to have the watch-along as well and the starting 11 here in the studio. And I'm going to be at the game. Me, Cecil, Lee Judges, Julian, we're all going to be up that game. That is a huge game.
It is.
All the talk up there, bigging up Arteta, stuff like that.
I would go as far as to say if we don't win tomorrow, then the chances of us winning the title are pretty much gone.
I actually agree with you. I think if we don't win tomorrow, I think we're then in a top 4 battle.
Yeah.
I don't think we can. But then on the other hand, I think if we win that game, and then, that really sets us up nicely going into that game against Liverpool, which if we did win that game, we'd be right. And
that's what I was saying at the start of the show, that it's there's no room for error. The margin for error is almost zero because we have to win tomorrow. We have to beat Liverpool realistically.
Yeah. We
could realistically also get a draw. That wouldn't put us out of it. But if you're not beating the likes of Forest, then I would argue you have no real right to say you're going to win the title.
It's a massive game tomorrow, and we're going to be all over it here on AFTV. And also, don't forget, back in the morning, Transfer Daily. And if anything happens between now and deadline day, I'll be on top of that. It's been a very quiet January transfer window. At the moment, it's looking so it's going to be very quiet for every team. But
do you see us signing anyone?
At the moment, the only thing I could see possibly happening, just from the movements I've seen, is possibly a loan for a fullback before the end of the season, before the end of the window. And I do think that depends upon the state of injuries and
any names you can give us? I know you got your ear to the ground.
Nothing really. I think this is, whatever happens is going to be like some sort of surprise because I just do not see.
It's been quiet for everyone.
I think there's some obvious players that Arsenal want, but they for the summer, and they're not. And a lot of teams are keeping their powder dry now till the summer. So, but we'll keep you all over that here on AFTV. Listen, thank you very much for calling. We're here every Monday at 7:00 with Fanzone. So make sure all you got to do is click the link or download the app, and you just come straight on, like you saw the callers tonight, and talk to us live here. This is all your show. So thank you very much. Thanks for everyone who came onto the comments, even the one who's slating me. Love it, right? Listen, I appreciate this. I've got opinions. Not everybody's going to agree with me. Not everyone's going to agree with Laurie. It's all about our opinions. That's what we do as football fans, so we absolutely love that.
And for the record, just finally, I just want to say I do appreciate the manager, but I also say that two things can be true at the same time. I appreciate him, however, let's wait until the end of the season, and then I'll tell you how much I really appreciate it.
This is a results business at the end of the day. I can say what I'm saying here today, and he could go and lose the next 4 games and I'm like, boy, maybe it's time for a change. This is how football runs. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.